Man, he really lucked out. Of course, now my mom is calling. Sorry, Mom, not right now. Sorry, I can't talk right now. Okay, and we're back. All right, so my mom has been hung up on. My dog has been put in his crate. Everything is okay. Okay, well, keys to getting effective and efficient volume on boards, repeats, and or mirror. Edward Bush, you're going to be the only one who I answer today. And then we're going to get right into it. Okay, effective and efficient volume on boards, repeats, and or mirror. Sounds like, is that a suggestion? Keys to getting effective and efficient? Well, the keys to getting effective and efficient volume on the boards is to, well, this totally depends. Actually, it totally depends on what your goal is. But let's just go ahead with your goal is to gain capacity. If the goal is to gain capacity, number one thing I would recommend is to vary your grip types. Because if you are going across a full playlist of boulders and they've all got edges that hit the same exact angle in your crimp grip, with, let's say you've got, you're grabbing pinches, you're grabbing crimps, they're all about the same size, putting stress across the same, your bowstring in that tendon every time. You're just putting pressure on the A2, A3, PIP joint. That's a big one that if you're getting on boards, that's like the number one thing I would watch out for. Same thing with the ring finger. Just make sure that when you're grabbing things, if you're grabbing in drag, that you're not quick loading on the lumbrical. If you're constantly doing that over and over, you just want to look for the spots that could be receiving the maximal impact from a board, and make sure that you are getting on holds that you otherwise would not, and you make sure that you're spreading out your grips, that you force yourself to climb in opens, force yourself to climb in half, a little high angle, get on all the different holds, get on all the different movement types. Don't just get on things that are just down pulls or side pulls. Make sure you limit how many Gastons you're doing. If you're flirting with synovitis, that puts torque on the joint. So that's, I think, number one. And then number two is just, climb with your intentions in mind. Even though you're doing volume, you still need to be fully focused on movement and never treat any attempt like it's just, another lap. Every single time you step on the wall, that's your opportunity to practice what it is that you want to show up when you turn the intensity up. People that climb on lower intensity, lackadaisically, are the ones that have lackadaisical things happen when they're on harder things. It's just how many repetitions are you going to get of high focus throughout the year? So that's my answer to that question. Now I'm just going to go ahead and grip and rip because we are rolling. And the question is, I'm going to make this a little bigger because we've got the space. The question is today, how many of you guys journal? I want to know. If you currently journal, and it doesn't have to be full-on entries, I want you to just type in the chat, me. That's it. That's all you got to do is say me. And journal every attempt. I love it. Hell yeah, Ryan. That is awesome. And guys, you totally, there we go. Okay, we're coming in hot. Guys, let's go. Okay, beautiful. Heck yeah, Shane. Chris, you definitely can ask unrelated questions. That's sure. I will probably get them at the end of the presentation. But yeah, okay. Well, that's a lot of us. So, we've got Fred Underhay. What's up, Fred? How you doing over there, man? All right, good to see Fred's here. Excellent. Yeah, I know Abyss. That is, Abyss said that they've bought it 3 months ago, the journal, and they've only used it three times. That's not a great ratio. That is once a month. Better than nonce. But, it is something. I'm going to get into this. You don't have to do it a ton, and you don't have to record everything in order to see the positive benefits from it. But, there is virtually a direct correlation with the more that you record and then obviously use, the more useful it is. Of course, there are caveats to that. If it's taking attention away from the climbing, or it's limiting the time that you have for the session and the amount that you can do productively, then there is a happy medium that you can most likely reach. But I am going to do this in classic style. I wrote up a very long, not too long, but a very thorough script for myself to read to you guys, and I will be taking a break. I know that you guys like when I take a break. Some people have told me that instead of just reading it all the way through, it's better if I pause. So I broke it up into 3 sections, and I'll be giving you guys 2 different sections throughout time periods to ask me a question and on anything that I have said or anything that you guys are just thinking about. And then at the end, I'm definitely going to take questions. So I'm also going to try to speak out of the, like Sam was helping me with last time, out of the back of my throat so that I don't lose my voice like I do every single one of these. Okay. Here we go. So, I didn't used to journal. I know that might surprise you guys, but I didn't. I thought it was something that yoga people did with candles and sound healing playlists. My style was more climb first and figure out what went wrong later. Maybe scribble something on a sweaty scrap of paper in my chalk bag if I had a flash of insight. Most of the time, though, I just assumed I'd remember what worked, what didn't, and how I felt. Plot twist, though, it didn't. Who'd have thunk? Over time, I started seeing a pattern with my athletes. The ones who made the fastest gains, the ones who were most confident in their plans and less likely to lose momentum, were the ones who wrote things down. Not just numbers, but thoughts, questions, frustrations, little micro notes about beta or how their body felt that day. They weren't all journaling in leather-bound moleskines while sipping espresso. Some were using voice memos. Others just typed into their notes app while scarfing a recovery bar. But they were documenting something. And it made a huge difference. So let's talk about why journaling matters in climbing training, and not in a Dear Diary, I sent my V7 today and my skin hurts kind of way, but in a this is one of the most underrated tools for getting strong, focused, and psyched kind of way. Now, it improves retention and focus. So you think you'll remember, but I promise you guys, you will not. Okay, let's start with the basics. Climbing is a skill sport. Okay, while strength is important, ultimately progression is very closely tied with your ability to use the best technique to make a move. This means that learning and retention is incredibly important. The unfortunate truth is that our brains suck at memory under pressure, especially when we're redlining on a route. So if I had $1 for every time I watched one of my athletes say, I'll totally remember that sequence, only to completely forget the key foot swap or where they placed their foot 2 days later, I'd be quite rich. Okay, writing things down locks them in. It's like cement for your nervous system. The act of journaling, of translating an experience into language, forces your brain to reflect on what happened and process it more deeply. There's a reason why coaches in other sports have playbooks. There's a reason why you took notes in school, or at least you should have. Journaling after a session is like saving a backup file of your mental and physical experience. You're capturing the raw data before your brain has a chance to file it under random dreams and that song you just can't stop humming. You don't have to write a novel, okay? You just need enough to jog the memory and build the connection. A note like, worked V9, felt stuck at move 4, tried dead pointing, but lock off feels too weak. Need to train that range. It might not win a Pulitzer, but it will guide your next training week. The longer you climb, the more patterns start to emerge, if you let them, okay? But only if you remember enough of the puzzle pieces to see the big picture. So you want to spot trends over time. And this is where journaling really becomes magic, in that long-term trend spotting. You start logging enough of your training and climbing thoughts, and suddenly you're not just doing stuff. You're conducting an experiment on yourself. You start to realize you climb like garbage on Thursdays after back-to-back hangboard sessions. You send more when you've had 2 full rest days instead of 1. Or you feel better after 1 rather than 2 at the start of the session. So maybe I do a longer warm-up when I do 2. You always overgrip on 3-finger crimps and undergrip on tensiony compression moves. You eat better when you're logging what you ate. You're emotionally way more resilient after a good night's sleep. It's weird, right? And you wouldn't have known any of that if you didn't write it down. One athlete I coach kept a 2-sentence journal after every session for 6 months. Just 2 sentences. sometimes 3. Okay. But by the end of that time, they had more usable insight into their own climbing than most people get in years. They learned that they crimp best after isometric warm-ups, that caffeine helps their root reading but wrecks their skin, and that their power output actually goes down the week of their menstruation. That kind of stuff doesn't come from guesswork. It comes from intentional evaluation and tracking. Additionally, there's something to be said for the motivation that comes from reviewing old notes and seeing how far you've come throughout your training. Like seeing the one climb that used to be at your limit and now you're using it for 4x4s. Having tangible proof that you're adapting, that your training works, and that your effort is adding up is important evidence to keep you driven and focused on your training. Okay, this might be my actual favorite part of journaling because it helps you not lose your damn mind. Climbing is very emotional. Projecting is emotional. Trying hard and still falling is emotional. Getting injured is very emotional. For many of us, our identity is tied to our climbing. If you don't process those emotions as they surface throughout your training, it builds up like a pressure cooker. You'll start snapping at your spotter for breathing too loudly or giving up on attempts because you just didn't feel it. Spoiler, it's not the climb. It is the noise in your head. Journaling gives you a way to clear that out. There's this thing that happens when you put words to a feeling. It becomes manageable, less fuzzy, less threatening. You write down, felt discouraged today, couldn't link my project, confidence dropped hard. And suddenly you've got a handle on it. There's a different story than I suck at climbing. You didn't suck. You were tired or stressed or not moving well. That's actionable. That's human. I'll often tell my athletes, if your session sucked, write more. Okay, if your session was amazing, write more. Those are the sessions that shape you. And honestly, if you're not a big feeling talker, this still works. Your journal doesn't need to go deep. It doesn't even need to be grammatically correct. You're not writing for anyone but you. But your training and your ability to zoom out, see what's happening inside of your head, and respond with more clarity and less reaction. Okay? The byproduct is better sessions, fewer meltdowns, more resilience, and perhaps, more importantly, a deep trust in yourself and the process. So try this, guys. After your next session, open your app, grab a notebook, or even record a voice note. Spend 3 to 5 minutes asking yourself. That's all I'm asking you guys. Okay? What felt good? What felt off? What surprised you? And what would you change next time? Okay? That's it. No fluff, just reflection. Because the climbers who learn fastest aren't the ones who train the most. They're the ones who learn the most from their training. And journaling, it's how you start learning like a pro. Okay, that's my first section. Does anyone have any questions about anything I said or anything that's just floating around in your darn head? Okay, I've got one question here. Nope, it's all good. You can totally ask them. All right. Starting soon, I have a couple projects outdoors planned. What cycle would you recommend I begin right now in the gym while I try and tackle some problems outdoors? Well, dude, it totally depends on, one, what have you done before this? 2, yes, I will repeat the bullet points. 2, when do you want to hit a peak? You know, when do you want to be performing your best? It sounds like your outdoor season is starting very soon and you have a couple of projects planned. So if you really have those as your priority, I would honestly just go right into, right now, depending on how much time, maybe you just start a power and power endurance cycle. You could do like a very abbreviated, basic strength and max strength phase. I don't think you have enough time to do like full on capacity and then, turn that into some strength and then do power and power endurance. You could maybe do like a 3-week, then a deload, then a 3-week, then a deload, and then do 3 weeks of power or power endurance, depending on what you need for the project. But, you can enter any phase and just improve that aspect. You just, you need to be respectful of what your current capacity is and not try to overshoot that. And know how to balance your hard days and your days in the gym when you go outside and project. You just can't go, hard, be doing a power cycle and then go outside and go try to do powerful boulders, come right back inside and just do a power session. You just gotta, you can do that if you give yourself like 2 rest days or really respecting your load. But yeah, bullet points. Jacob Arthur, those were 1, what felt good? 2, what felt off? 3, what surprised you? And 4, what would you change next time? I'm just going to copy and paste it for you guys. Boom. Okay, so Bolo Hobo, you're jumping ahead. I will tell you exactly what you should be journaling. Don't worry, we're coming. And then 1 single journal, rather than what I've been doing, just making beta notes, but they're separate notes for separate problems, which wouldn't give an overall view very easily. Yeah, it's different. That's like your session journal. But you could have, like I have sheets that are just specific to a boulder. So I will have my journal, and then I have sheets that just record one project. That's standard. That's great. Second is this: I felt like there was a lot of fluff in my journaling. How do you root out the weeds? Aiden, what you should do right now is go back through your journal. A good thing you could do is, if you don't want to mark up your journal, you can just like take pictures of your journal and then use the smart application on your in Photos of just highlight the text, copy, paste, and just put like a couple of pages, maybe like a week's worth or maybe 2 weeks, and then color code like what has been helpful, what has not been helpful, and really think about it. Like, does this help me mentally to just get this out? Or is this just nonsense? Am I wasting my time? Because I've definitely put things that are not helping me at all in my journal. So I would do that, and then you'll know, okay, wow, every time I write about what I do when I'm resting, I've squeezed that lemon dry. I know now, so I don't need to keep writing so much about it. All right, Kwas, I'm gonna come back. Wrist pain, have you given it 2 weeks? Still there? Any tips? Should I keep climbing or wait? Got to know how bad it is, where it is, when do you feel it? When did it start? Did it start 2 weeks ago? Number 1, take it easy. Avoid what is hurting your wrist right now. And if it continues, then I would, talk to a PT and see what they recommend giving you for, a way to integrate that into your climbing and training. All right, y'all. Section 2. Okay, so here you go, Bolo Hobo. What to journal? So, if you're anything like me, you've probably tried journaling a few times and thought, what exactly am I supposed to write about again? Or maybe you got a couple of days in, wrote some thoughts, and then hit a wall where it just didn't feel worth it. Let me tell you, that wall, it's normal. The trick isn't trying to capture every thought like you're writing a climbing memoir. It's honing in on the small, useful details that keep your training and progress moving forward. And as someone who's been down the road of guesswork, trust me, writing down the right things makes a massive difference. So in this section, I'll break down what to journal to keep on track, focused, constantly improving. Don't worry, I'll make it simple and real, no bullshit, just actionable insights from one climber who's learned through trial and error and occasional meltdown. Shout out to all those V7s that made me question my life choices. We got this. So, mood, sleep, soreness, and session outcome. How to set the stage for a good session. Before we even talk about what's happening during your session, it's vital to check in with the non-climbing factors. The stuff that's happening outside the gym that can make or break your performance. The things you don't always realize are affecting you until you sit down and process them. Mood, sleep, soreness, and session outcome are a few of the top factors that are vital to track. So your mood, if you're not feeling it, write it down. A poor mood can be an invisible barrier that tanks your session without you even knowing it. Were you distracted? Maybe frustrated from work or life stuff? Is there a weird tension in your body or a sense of unease that you just can't shake? Journaling your mood gives you clarity. If your session went poorly, you can trace it back to mental factors. Oh yeah, I was definitely stressed out about the conversation earlier today, and I couldn't focus on the climb. Now you're not just beating yourself up over an off day. You're acknowledging it and learning how to shift gears for next time. I'll often rate my mood on a 1 to 10 scale before I start climbing. Write a quick note about the mental state, like a bit stressed but feeling hyped to train. Even just a sentence or two gives you a baseline to compare against future sessions. Over time, you might see a pattern. Maybe you climb stronger when you're relaxed, or you need a certain amount of sleep to hit your peak. Journaling those things will uncover that. Sleep. Oh, sleep. The secret weapon of climbers everywhere. If only we used it as much as our hangboards. Your recovery doesn't start after your session. It starts the night before. Sleep impacts everything from your focus to your power output. And keeping track of it can show you where you're slipping up. If you've had a rough night's sleep, write it down. Maybe your performance is lackluster. Maybe you're cranky. Journaling these details helps you spot how much of your rest impacts your physical output. If you can make a habit of noting how you slept, you'll start seeing trends. When I first started paying attention to my sleep patterns, I discovered that I climbed significantly better after a few nights where my total deep sleep was over 3 hours and 30 minutes versus nights where I had an equal number of total minutes slept, but more light sleep. At the time, I was training super hard, and without realizing my rest was sabotaging my efforts. Tracking it helped me prioritize rest, which made a huge difference in my performance. And if any of you guys are regulars here, you'll know that I use this little Oura ring, and I record all of the information about it that I get from it every single day. I put that information in my sleep tracking spreadsheet, and then I take just about 2 minutes, sometimes 3, to write out notes. What did I do the day before that could have impacted my sleep? What did I do that night for dinner? When did I have dinner? What did I have? How did I feel going to sleep? What happened in the middle of the night? Was I thirsty? Was I cold? Was I hot? Was I, talking with my wife in bed for too long? Did I get angry right before I slept? Did I, watch television too close to bed? I can't tell you guys how much more sleep I get because I've done this. How much higher quality sleep I get because I've done this. How many more green days of training I've gotten because I do this. All you have to do, and this is kind of everything you're ever doing in life, right, is what are the things that are sabotaging you? What are the things that are not helpful? And then you take those things and you don't frickin' do them anymore. You put habits in place to make sure you don't do the things that you always tell your friends, oh yeah, I have this bad habit, I do this and I do, and you say it with this stupid pride. Why do we do that? Why are people so proud to be on their phones scrolling, doom scrolling at night? You know how much better you feel when you don't do that. So why keep doing it? But you're going to keep doing it unless you have a journal that you don't want to look at every day and have to write, I did it again. No, you're going to want to see better numbers. So I highly, highly encourage you guys to track what you're doing because it makes seeing bad numbers horrible. You will change, I promise you, you will change your habits to see those numbers go up. And the only way you're going to see them go up is if you write them down every week. So this thing was by far the best investment I've ever made in my entire life. I've also seen a dramatic increase in my income throughout the year because of this thing. Because I get more work done, because I'm more alert during the day, because I feel better, because I'm prouder of myself, and I'm more confident to set off on the day and accomplish harder tasks. So I cannot tell you guys how absolutely imperative it is to record what it is that you're doing for your number one source of recovery. Nutrition's up there too. Okay, I'm not going to get into that here. I have a whole nother podcast, that's good, webinar. I was just talking about turning this into a podcast on nutrition, so I'm going to save that for another time. But another big one you want to record, this is related to sleep, is soreness. Okay, soreness is great. Soreness itself is actually great. It's a sign that what you did was, a lot of stress. So we know, okay, either don't repeat that or that was the goal. And was it too much, too little? So climbing requires you to be in tune with your body, right? And that sometimes your body's telling you to slow down or modify your training. By journaling your soreness levels, whether it's forearms, fingers, shoulders, or something else, you can make smarter decisions. And finally, session outcome. What happened during your session? Simple, right? But often we forget the most important part. What was the outcome of all the effort you just put in? Did you complete your project? Did you acquire a new skill? Did you finish the session feeling frustrated or victorious? Maybe you hit a mental block, or maybe you unlocked a new technique that suddenly made the move feel easier. Like I literally did today. I cracked open a move on a project I'm going to be going back to Rocklands on my replica on my slab wall. So I'm stoked. It was Piahi V12. I finally understand the last move. Oh my God, it's going to happen. And that happened today. And you're damn right I wrote about it. So even if it was the smallest beta refinement or technical trick, you should journal it. Yeah, these are the key takeaways that guide your next steps. You'll be surprised at how much you'll forget otherwise. I can't tell you how many times I've gone back into a session and been like, what was that? What was it? I know I remembered something key, but it was a week and a half ago, whatever. I will come and climb in Morocco. You got it, brother. All right, so session plan versus execution. Ooh, you guys are guilty of this one, I bet. I'm all about session intentions, okay? If you've worked with me or you work with me, you know that. Each session has a very specific intention. And writing down a clear session plan before you start climbing is one of the best ways to improve your focus. But it's equally important to record how your session actually went. Here's a fun exercise. Before every session, take a minute to write down your goals. Okay, this doesn't need to be some elaborate, life-changing vision, just some simple bullet points to guide your time. Focus on crimp strength today. Work on heel hook technique on that V8 and avoid over gripping. Okay, write it down. Then when you're done, write down what happened in real time. Did your plan work? Was it easier or harder than you thought? Did you get distracted? Were you more successful than you thought you'd be? This helps you reflect on where your expectations met reality. Sometimes your plan will be spot on, and sometimes you realize I was overconfident and my plan to crush that V9 wasn't realistic. Either way, journaling that process allows you to constantly adjust and fine-tune. The more consistently you guys log stuff, the better you'll understand how to create realistic goals for yourself. And it's easy to assume that you're just not good enough when you don't hit your goals. But sometimes it's about refining your approach. Okay? Finally, let's talk specifics. Okay? The actual climbing. This is where your journal becomes a treasure chest of insight. After each attempt, whether you succeed or not, take a minute to write a brief note about what you tried, what worked, and how it felt. Try that V10 again. Felt strong on the first move, but I missed the beta on the second part. Need to work on keeping tension there. V6 proj went down today. Psyched on that. I think I used my feet better this time. Simple. First try on that V8, couldn't stick the crux. Felt like I was pulling too high on the slopers. Need to relax more into the feet. This approach keeps you in tune with both your technique and your emotional state. It helps you see patterns in your performance when you're gripping too tight, when you're nervous, when you're actually making progress without realizing it. It's easy to think that your session is a bust, but journaling can help you look at the details in a more intentional way and see the subtle improvements you're making. It doesn't just help solidify your technique. It's a tool for you to spot your mental blocks that are sabotaging your progress. Okay. Before I go on to section 3, I see that people have asked some questions. I'm going to answer those suckers, and then we're going right back into it. Okay. Kas, would losing weight in a healthy way help improve climbing performance? And also, how do you approach a project when you've seen the beta but still can't do it? I've been climbing for 4 months. Sorry if these questions seem silly. Not going to get into the weight question. That's just an insane can of worms. I'm happy to talk about weight and body recomposition, but I just you need to be more detailed because I'm not going to put myself in the position to comment on weight loss just willy-nilly like that. I do this for my clients. We'll talk about it in the way it should be spoken about, but I'm not going to just. I don't know you. I don't know what your situation is, so I'm not even going to start. Sorry. How do you approach a project when you've seen the beta but still can't do it? Well, if that's the easiest method for the general public, you've seen many people do it, I would try to make that work, but I would also try other methods that work for you and see if there's other ways that you can do it. What feels easiest? You don't want to get suckered into the mainstream beta just because it's what everyone does. It's a great place to start, but you definitely should also quest on your own path and start to learn who you are. And also just right now, you've been climbing 4 months. I would also just start to be a student of finding new beta, understanding movement. So get experimenting. Have you used a Whoop? Yeah, I used a Whoop. I really didn't like the thing around my wrist, and it was just so annoying to put it on and clip it each time. No, I'm not doing a Whoop. Oura Ring's my way to go. I don't even notice it. And yeah, I definitely take it off when I'm climbing. Yeah, I do not leave my Oura Ring on. That's nuts. That's how you lose a finger. BJ Davis, when to journal? I focus on during, after warm-ups. Warm-up factors into my session, focus intensity. Then I journal as part of the recording the session throughout, or at a planned break. Final journal at, boom, got it. All of those. Whenever you want, brother. I literally every single one you just said, that's when I journal. Do you journal by hand or type into a document on your phone? I like to personally write it on an actual journal. I like the handwriting. It also, honestly, is just like a little faster for me because it's just right there. And I don't have to like swipe through my phone to get to it. I just pop open the page and just start writing. Yeah. Dylan. Oh, wow. Lengthy. Here we go. I like this. I'm trying to push my outdoor grade, but I cannot get outside very often. I have a project in Joe's Valley that is over 10 hours away. That is far. So most trips are only about a week. Usually takes me a few days to relearn the moves and get back into the groove. And by the time I start feeling strong on the trip is over. How would you recommend structuring training or projecting when you cannot visit the climb regularly? Dylan, the fact that you're losing the moves that fast is, I don't know how often you're going out to it, but it is a little concerning. It sounds like you're not practicing the moves in training. So Dylan, I would 100% set a replica. And if you can't set a full replica, I would set the moves. Like every single move I would just have on a different part of the wall as close as you can, and then visualize it as often as you can. You should just watch videos of yourself doing it, feel the moves, practice the move, like quite literally just do the moves on the ground while you're watching the video. It's incredible how much that helps. Our brains are designed to be able to learn movement like that and rehearse and learn. So take advantage of it. Just because one person one time you saw made fun of Adam Andra for doing that on a crash pad doesn't mean that you can't send your project in half the time because you do that. I do it all the time. Frist, here we go. Here's a question I've been meaning to ask for a while. In the next few months, I'll be moving to Italy. Great. City called Cremona to study at violin making school. That's so cool. From where I'll be staying, Magic Wood is only about a 2.5 hour drive. Yeah, I know where you'll be. I lived there for a month and a half. From my current assumptions, I'll be able to go to Magic Wood twice a week at most, and I'll also have a 10x2 spray wall at home. I'm not satisfied with the quality of the gyms there, so basically I won't have access to a gym. How should I go about balancing hard outdoor climbing twice a week with the spray wall so I can get proper recovery and progress in climbing? Normally I'd have access to a gym to do easier stuff if I'm not feeling too well recovered, but I don't know how that will work with only having access to a steep home board. Wow, there are so many ways that I can go with this answer. I'm going to keep it super simple, man. What you're doing on the rock, don't also do that on the spray wall. If you're going and you're working a super high angle, intense crimp line, you're doing that 2 days a week, and then you come onto the board, I wouldn't do super intense crimp lines. Okay, unless you're feeling, like you're not getting enough stimulus and that, getting on the boulders twice a week isn't enough, which I don't think it's not going to be enough. I would come inside and I would balance out your training. I would, do whatever the boulders are not giving you, energy system wise. I would use that wall for all different grip types, all different movement styles. Of course, you want to keep it within like if you're trying to get a certain style of boulders done, maybe I wouldn't train everything when you're on the spray wall. Maybe if you're getting on like 2 boulders that feature very similar types of moves, then you're getting on the things that are also in that same air of style, but it's different. And you're doing it on different grips, maybe not super high angle, maybe a little more open. So you're just looking to fill in the gaps that are still within your goals, but aren't, you're not overlapping with what you're also doing outside. Could you please cover the climbing aspect of what to journal again? Taking notes and missed the last bit. Aiden, I'm going to post it. I'm sorry I'm not going to go back just for you, sir. But I'm happy that you're writing this down, but I will post this. To give you a bit more context, yeah, I don't really need more context on that. For now, I'm going to skip that. Sorry, brother. Maybe I'll come back at the end, or if you want to email me. But I'm just not going to publicly talk about your weight during the middle of the webinar. I do want to help you, but I got to stay the course. Otherwise, we'll go down a rabbit hole. And I don't think it really applies to everyone. So, no, you're good. Don't apologize. Happy you're here. So let me finish strong here. Setting a journaling trigger. This is huge, guys. We got to create a routine, not a burden. One of the biggest hurdles to journaling isn't knowing what to write. It's actually remembering to actually sit down and do it. Let's face it, we're busy. We've got lives to live, climbing projects to work on, and endless distractions trying to steal our attention. So how do you build a habit that's not only effective, but also sticks around? It's all about creating a trigger, something that reminds you to pick up that pen or open the app every time you train. Because I know you guys have started, but you lose momentum, right? You go through the whole session, oh crap, I forgot to journal. Don't worry, it used to happen to me all the time. I would buy journals, never use them. Sucked, okay, until I started doing triggers. So I started small by linking journaling to a specific event. After every session, I would sit down for 5 minutes with my protein smoothie, or I was drinking tea at the time. It wasn't about the perfect moment. It was about making it part of my post-climbing routine. No matter what, I sat down and wrote something. Even if it was just a few sentences about how my fingers felt or how that V8 on the moon board didn't go down the way I planned, I wrote something. You don't need to overcomplicate this part, guys. Find something in your routine that naturally fits. You could tie it to right after you come off the wall and sit back next to your chalk bag. Jot down your thoughts while you're still fresh in your mind. Right after you finish climbing, take a few minutes to summarize everything so that you capture it all before the details slip away. First thing in the morning. I've had clients who like to journal first thing to set the tone for the day. It's a form of mental warm-up, just like your pre-climbing ritual. If you're more reflective at night, though, use this time at night to process what happened during the day. Think of it like an emotional cool down, just like your post-session stretch. And obviously those last two, that's for just general journaling about what you're going through in life, how your training's going, thoughts. That's also fine. It's better than not doing it. Okay, great tip I've learned from my own experience and from coaching is to pair journaling with something enjoyable. If you love your post-climbing snack or drink, make that your trigger. You can use something simple like, I will journal while I drink my protein smoothie after each session. Once you've tied journaling to something familiar and enjoyable, it becomes easier to stick with it. Okay? You can even pair it with, after each session, I'm going to watch a quick climbing video. Immediately after that climbing video, I'm going to write something in my journal. So you give yourself a treat. This is, if any of you guys have read Atomic Habits by James Cleary, this is standard. You would tie it to something else that you like doing. So you give yourself a reward, and then you do your habit that you want to start. And that's all this is, guys. You're just creating a habit. So journaling isn't a one-size-fit-all deal. So what works for me might not be your jam, and that's totally okay. The beauty of journaling for climbers is that it's flexible. It can be as structured or as free-form as you want. What matters is that you make it your own. Some climbers love bullet point lists. Okay, quick, efficient, no frills. Others prefer writing out full reflections, giving them space to really process. Some like paper, some like spreadsheets. My suggestion, start with a format that makes sense for you. When I was figuring out my journaling rhythm, I was stuck in this middle ground of writing too much, and it was causing me dread, honestly, a little bit. I wasn't looking forward to it for a minute. My journaling looked more like an essay than a climbing log. What I realized was that I didn't need to go overboard. It was just going to lead to me burning out and ditching journaling. So I simplified it into just a few key areas I wanted to track. And here's a framework that worked for me. Okay, and it can be adjusted based on your goals, of course. Mood and focus, 1 to 2 lines. Feeling solid after that session, got into a good flow, or felt distracted and frustrated with the project today. I will also always now write my mood going into the session. I rate it out of 10. Just based, 10 is I'm feeling incredibly psyched and happy. 0 is I honestly shouldn't train today. I feel horrible. And I don't. I honestly don't when that happens. But also I rarely feel like a 0. Training type, strength, power, endurance, etc. Helps you keep track of what you've been doing. Okay, soreness and recovery. A quick check-in on how your body feels. Forearms sore, shoulders feeling tight. Session outcome notes. This is where the magic happens. Just letting you guys know, okay? Maybe a few lines about what worked and what didn't and what you'll focus on next. That's all you need. Nailed the first 2 moves of the V9. Need to improve my footwork on the third move. Successes. And I'm going to finish strong with successes because I think it's the secret to journaling. I think it's like the absolute superpower. You want to journal as many successes as possible, okay? No matter what size or form. If you're a fan of the free form approach, you can be more descriptive, okay? Maybe you want to explore what that V8, why it didn't click, or what mental blocks you experienced during the session. Journaling can be about processing your emotions and your thoughts, but having some structure helps keep you focused. Remember, your format doesn't have to look like anyone else's. The important thing is that you're journaling regularly and intentionally. Okay, you can absolutely use prompts or templates. Okay, if you're still stuck on what to write, problem I've run into a lot, consider using prompts or templates. These are incredibly helpful when you're feeling tired or when you can't seem to find the words. Templates help you focus on the essentials without overthinking it. They're like cheat codes, honestly, for your journal to keep you on track and prevent you from spiraling into indecision. If I'm feeling lazy or just don't know where to start, I sometimes will pull out a journal prompt that helps me break things down into bite-sized pieces. Here are some examples. Session recap. What went well today? What didn't? And what will I focus on next session? Physical focus. What was sore or tight before, during, and after training? Any areas that need extra attention? Did I have any mental blocks or distractions during training? How can I approach those differently next time? Of course, that's mental focus. And then last one is your goal check-in. Am I moving toward my long-term goal? What progress did I make today? You can obviously, guys, create your own prompts that suit your style and training needs. When I first started, I kept things pretty simple, asking questions like, how closely did I stick to my plan? Or, what did I learn today? It does not matter how complex the prompts are. What matters is that you guys start. Okay? And lastly, and most importantly, successes. Okay? One of the most powerful things you can do for your climbing, not just your performance, but your mindset, is to bank every success. Write it down. Log it. Celebrate it. Doesn't matter if it's a limit boulder, a perfect warm-up, or a personal best on weighted hangs, or simply moving with flow on a problem that you once flailed on. Okay, by documenting every win, no matter how small, you're writing your brain to recognize progress. And that's where true confidence starts to grow. In my favorite climbing book, by far, Masterclass, the author and climbing legend Jerry Moffatt talks about creating a mental loop of confidence. The more you succeed and remember that you've succeeded, the more likely you are to perform well again. He describes how even visualizing past success can improve current performance. Your brain is always learning, so give it the right material. Journaling your achievements makes them real, memorable, and emotionally sticky. It transforms fleeting feelings of competence into concrete evidence that you're getting better. That's what you're trying to lock in here, okay? You're not guessing. You're showing yourself the proof. This habit does more than just fuel motivation. It serves as a psychological anchor when things inevitably feel off. On those days where everything feels like a grind, when your fingers ache, your skin sucks, and you're questioning why you even train, your journal becomes your personal database of resilience. You flip back a few pages and boom, there's that day you hit a new PR in your recruitment polls. There's the note about how you stuck the crux on your proj for the first time. This archive of progress helps reframe your current struggles as part of a bigger upward trend. Training isn't just about your fingers, shoulders, or forearms. It's about your brain. And your brain needs reps, just like your body. When you consistently reinforce the message that you are improving, you develop a mindset of optimism, grit, and forward momentum. Banking your successes gives you emotional inertia. It's the mental equivalent of good skin and fresh temps. It makes everything easier. So don't let your wins fade away in the noise of daily effort. Record them, relive them, let them build your belief system one page at a time. That's all I've got to say about that. All right. So that's what I've got for you tonight. I'm going to answer questions if you got them. You know, I'm always down. Hank has been so quiet. Thank gosh. I gave him like 8 treats and a frozen bowl of food, which he just works at. Okay. Kas, I'm going to come up to you, or Quas. I will come back. Let me answer everything first. It's not really that I forget the moves. Dylan says it's more the small micro beta that changes every time I come back. The moves feel a little different, even when I try to do them the same way. If it helps, the boulder is Pegasus and Joe's Valley. The shoulder move off the horrible finger stack always feels different. I've made progress on it over time, so it is not like I'm losing progress. It just takes a bit to dial everything back in. Also, thank you for the journaling idea. I will definitely use this on the upcoming training for nationals. Heck yeah, dude. Dylan, when you go back to Pegasus, highly recommend you do a video recording of you just talking about what what the session was. I do that every single time I'm on a trip working at Boulder that I'm not going to come back to for like a couple days. Get a recording of you talking about everything, point to things, zoom in, say what it is that you remember, you want to remember, what happened. Just record everything. And then when you go back, it's usually like a 1 to 3 minute video, and just watch it and then play it and write down the key parts. It's insane how much that helps. V3 Slayer, can you overkill with the journaling? I was thinking about getting a binder with questions already there for me I need to answer. I do a journal a lot, but I tend to write a lot before, during, and after my sessions. This part answered my... Yeah, I think I answered your question. Following your capacity training you post on Instagram, since I'm climbing circuits with the goal of submaximal loading, I'm not as fatigued after it. What would you suggest doing after the session? Right now, I'm focusing on my slab technique since it is not as upper body intense as doing a fingerboard training. Cheech, that sounds great. You could do some skill work before or after your capacity training. If you're finishing your capacity training though, and you're feeling like you still have a lot of energy for more, it sounds like you aren't pushing your max capacity. I think you should try pushing a little bit more. With capacity training, it's like the only phase where you should push until you're feeling like, I'm starting to feel worked. My quality's still high, but I'm starting to feel worked. And you shouldn't want to do more that's, intense afterwards. Again, it's okay to do some light skill work, but it sounds like you're maybe looking for more, so you probably have a little bit more that you could push. Okay. Aiden, with climbing being a big social outlet for many climbers, how should we incorporate it in our journals, if at all? How should we incorporate it in our journals, if at all? Aiden, is the question, how should we bring in the social aspect into the journal? Or how do we keep... Okay, the answer is yes. What is the intention? I'd say if it's a good question, it's a great question, but if you're just going to be writing about like the conversations you're having with people, or the fact that you were, one thing I think would be great, Aiden, is, and I think this is very valuable, is like, what does the social atmosphere do for you? A good example would be like, yeah, there we go, BJ, perfect. Climbed with friends, session was good. Or climbed with my boy, and we always go hard. Like we always send so big. Like I'm really focused when he's there. He pushes me. Or I was there with that guy Ralph, who's just always such a downer. He really brought the session down. Got to remember next time, don't climb in the same zone that Ralph's in. He really brings me down. Things like that are definitely valuable. BJ, that's a good one, BJ. BJ is a father of a climbing kid. It's so true. I'm hopefully going to become that annoying dad soon. How would you go about, what's a recent win you had? Oh, me personally? Man, I had a freaking incredible session today. That's a win that I had recently. I filled out the journal today with some big wins. Huge breakthrough on 3 projects I've got. Sent 2 of them, actually, just to say. Definitely felt the best I've felt on a couple of crimps on my wall. That was incredible, and unlocked the Piahi move, and also unlocked my slab stand-up proj, which was insane. I was finally able to just stand on the no-tex horrible little foot that I have, which I've been working on for a long time. Very long time. It's been months. So I've been doing max hangs for my toes by just standing on small little edges and seeing the difference each time. And holy crap, how much that... I used to do this way back in the day when I was competing, but I'm doing it again for my trip back to Africa to put Piahi down. So big day for me, big wins. How would you go about using footage of yourself climbing in conjunction with a written journal? Case, wow. Let's see. Well, you want to, of course, use them, I kind of don't want to repeat the question because I've answered this so many times with using footage of yourself for a lot of the people here, but I'm going to do it anyway. What you should do is, watch the video, record yourself climbing, watch the video, write down any key insights that you see. Make the adjustment on the wall. How did it work? Write any key insights you gain. It's like journaling is just, I thought it. That was important to remember. Write it down. So video yourself. Video as much as you can. I video just about every attempt. I won't say I video every attempt. I video just about every attempt and watch it for what can be improved. And then write it down. Okay. Heck yeah, dude. Dylan, thanks for coming, man. Cheech. That's the thing. I don't know if I should push myself more or the amount is okay and wait for the next week to increase volume. My determining factor is if I am over gripping after 2 rounds, I am not going to push it since, like you said, I should feel that I still have something left in the tank. I don't mind increase the load and finishing my climbing session with the capacity training alone, but would you recommend that? I mean, if your goal is the capacity phase right now, your goal should be, steady, consistent growth, right? So if you feel like right now you're climbing to your capacity, that's the whole thing, Cheech, is you're not just doing a capacity phase and starting with 10 boulders, RPE 5 to 7. If you can do 20 boulders, RPE 5 to 7, in that case, you're not increasing your capacity. So you should be going towards, when form starts to degrade, that's your true capacity. And then after that, you can absolutely do things like skill work. But what I'm saying is it sounded like you're doing the former, which is you're not pushing up to your max. So you still have a lot to give. And that's what I'm saying. You're definitely still going to increase next week, but you should be increasing on top of what your current capacity is. Dude, Stefan, right? That fucking guy, man. Unreal. Goddamn Ralph. Sorry if anyone's name is Ralph here. Yeah, absolutely. Follow this advice when you mention it from the end of the last year. It has helped a ton. This webinar helped solidify the journaling game. Heck yeah, V3 Slayer. One day I hope to meet you. Unless we've already met and I just don't know what your real name is. If you're one of my clients, I don't know. All I know you as is V3 Slayer. All right, Koss. I'm going to see if I want to answer this question. I'm sorry, dude. To give you a bit more context, I'm around 5'9", 88 kilograms with about 30% body fat. Do you think reducing body fat in a healthy way could improve my climbing performance? Koss, the answer is yes. Okay, at 30% body fat, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Yes. You guys can crucify me, but yeah, dude, you've got a high percentage of body fat. It obviously removing body fat that you have more than the healthy amount of body fat. So you can definitely lose body fat, and that you will see, if you do it the healthy way and you're still consuming enough energy to have high quality sessions, yes, you will see an improvement in your climbing. It's a strength to weight ratio sport. I mean, like, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to even, now that I've actually broken open the gate, I'm not going to even be careful about it. Like, yeah, obviously, if you're carrying around a lot of excess fat, get rid of it. It's not helping. Any tips on setting realistic goals climbing? Aiden, coming in with the sauce. All right. Any tips on setting realistic goals climbing? Man, Aiden, I mean, what is it that you want to do? I would set your goals based on process goals right now, and then give it some time, see what you're capable of doing, and then, build from there. Set something that's achievable. Right now, make your goal something that is going to be helpful for the long term. A process goal, like show up, log 10 green day sessions. Do this cycle with focus and intention on each day. Great. You can accomplish that, but it's a great goal because that's going to move you forward. Okay, you can have any goals. Realistic goals are really just the ones that you can accomplish. And it's all based on the time frame, right? Like, Aiden, I don't know how old you are, but let's say your goal is to climb V15. Could be realistic. It might be very realistic. Is it realistic to say climb V15 in a month? Maybe not. How about climb V15 in a decade? Totally. That's realistic. Could be even shorter than that. All right. Since it's 8, guys, I'm going to give this to Noah, and you guys will have the last. I'm going to go 3 more questions, and I'm out. Okay. Noah says, you talk about setting replicas. I feel like I find this hard to do in the gym. Maybe I'm just not being creative enough. I have access to a spray, TB1, Moon, and the commercial set. Any tips? Man, Noah, I thought you were going to say I don't have access to anything. Dude, you got no excuse, homie. You got spray, you got TB1, you got Moon, and the commercial set. Dude, you got to look harder. Like I said, though, Noah, sometimes it can be really, really hard to even find 2 moves back to back. And with replicas, you don't have to get dead accurate. Obviously, the more accurate you can, the better. But what you can do is just set one of the moves as accurately as possible, then set another move somewhere else, then set another move somewhere else, and now you're getting all the moves. And then you show up at the project, and you just have to iron out the transitions. Okay, Malvi, I've been climbing for just under 2 years and have made pretty good progress within that timeline, and I want to keep seeing strength gains, but I'm wondering if I should establish capacity and work in maybe 1 strength day a week to help myself in the long run. It's just hard for me to imagine not doing some kind of strength in a circuit. Yeah, dude, you absolutely can do that. That's fine. You can do an integrated conjugate model too. Like, you don't have to do what I recommend. It's definitely the formula I see the greatest amount of people see the greatest amount of success. Whether they're, even some people that just climb outside, they're doing it and they don't even know it. But I think what you should do is do a capacity-based phase, keep in that 1 strength day. That's fine. And you can even keep small strength touches throughout every phase you do. That's totally fine. You just, you keep the majority in line with the desired adaptation. And then you'll be set to and have more margin to have an even more productive strength phase. Heck yeah, dude. Glad you used the Nido. All right. BJ, I will maybe have a list of journaling prompts in my upcoming publication. Well, here's the thing. You guys stuck around to the end, so I'm just going to say it. The product that I've been hinting at that's coming out, well, I already announced it softly on social media, but the product that I'm launching that you guys will have access to very soon is going to have it's going to do all the work for you. It's going to have an insane KPI tracking system, working with this incredible company that's at spearheading the most cutting edge technology on AI for sports performance. And what they're doing is they're going to take all the information that you put into your program, which is through the app. You can even just talk into the app. You don't even have to type it in. And then it takes that and it's going to put it into your personal dashboard. And then you'll get full reports on exactly what it is that your finger strength is showing, what you did last session, the last month, your trend on a graph, on multiple forms of graphs. You can then see, KPIs, there we go, thank you. And it's going to show, your mood from session to session, your total, it's going to show, I think it was over 50 or 60 different KPIs. And you can obviously filter which ones you see. But my favorite one's going to be, it's going to track your accumulated chronic workload ratio so that it shows, how hard should you train. It's going to then make the next, it's going to tell you what you should do to adjust the next session, which the program knows what's coming. Obviously it's, it's a full year of programming. Damn it, I just gave away a huge part of this. But it's going to help you learn what you should do each day, tracking based on the full-on information that you're doing each session. So you don't have to record any of this. You just put in what you're doing in the app. You make a couple notes about quality. It's going to give you full-on prompts. So it's all there for you. You just tap a couple buttons, and then it gives you the most detailed possible recommendations for the next session. You can see your progress over time. You can see your graph of your finger strength, your pull strength, your legs, your core, your push, your skills. Everything is coming up. Your energy systems, it's coming, okay? It's coming. And it's, yeah. So, so you can go to my website. Launch date is anticipated. I mean, it's not anticipated. It is June 1st. All right, June 1st. I'm probably gonna edit this out on the YouTube. Don't go spreading this. It's supposed to be a secret, but yeah, you guys come every week. You guys are the best. Thank you. And I know you guys are obviously going to be founding fathers with this. So telling my OG crew, it's going to be all of us starting this thing, because I'm doing the full plan with everyone that does it. So I am really, really psyched. So yeah, guys. Anywho, thank you for coming. I will talk to everyone very soon, next week, in fact, and have a great night. Thanks for learning about journaling. Deuces.